Well, hello people, and welcome back to part 7 of the Project Zomboid Noobs Guide to Build 42. I hope you're having a wonderful day. In this episode, I'd like to take you from having nothing related with the blacksmithing skill to having both the advanced forge and furnace set up, ready to begin your blacksmithing grind. This is one of my favourite additions of the new update. Blacksmithing allows you to craft your own materials, including nails, crowbars, sledgehammers, long swords, maces, lots of very cool, powerful weapons. And it's also going to take us down a few of the other skill paths as well, including pottery, masonry, and carpentry. Definitely one of the coolest additions, but there is quite a process to get there. So the building we're eventually working towards is this thing here, the big advanced forge. It allows for the most advanced metal forging, including metal armors, blades, and tool heads. There are also primitive and simple forges, but don't bother with these. These are only used to access the blacksmithing skill if you're living out in the wilderness. For 99% of your runs, you're going to want the advanced forge. Now, most of the resources for this, including buckets of clay cement, stone blocks, mason's trowels, and the wooden bucket, are all fairly easily scavenged. But there's two items in particular that make this grind a bit of a pain and quite a process. This is the blacksmith's anvil and the large bellows. We actually need two large bellows because the advanced furnace also would like a set of them as well. So I'm going to break each of these items down and exactly how we collect them. For the record, you can find these items out in the world as loot, but they are exceedingly rare, and I have never found a blacksmith's anvil out in the wild, but they do appear. But honestly, don't rely on finding them because you're going to have to make them yourself. So the first thing we need to work on is the two sets of bellows. To do this, we need to build two medium leather drying racks. These are made from 6 long sticks, 8 uses of twine, and 2 nails. Very basic materials, you'll have no problem building this workstation. You can also find this workstation out in the world as well. With the 2 drying racks sourced, you then need to go and find medium leather. If you're in Rosewood, you can loot this, which is what I'm going to do at the start of my gameplay here. Otherwise, you need to kill either 2 of pigs, sheep, or deer. Those are classed as medium animals. You skin them on a butchering hook, take the leather to a softening beam, process it twice with a fleshing tool, and then use the leather with brain tan on a tanning barrel. And then we add both pieces of the leather to the drying racks. So now I'm living in Rosewood, and there is a leather warehouse on the north of town. So that's where we're going to drive today. You can follow my route if you are following along. But if you're not in Rosewood, pigs and sheep are pretty easy to find. Just drive to a farm and kill 2 of them, and then bring them back to your base on the butchering hook, which again is very easily built in your build menu. It's planks, nails, and a large hook. I think really basic materials, they're not difficult to build. We're exploring new parts of town here, so we might run into some crowds. Yes, we absolutely will. But the leather factory is down here. I'm not massively impressed with dragging all these along with me though, so we'll get around this corner quickly to break their line of sight. This building down here on the right, it's a leather workshop. There's also a drying rack here for you to take as well. But just because we're starting a new grind doesn't mean we need to get silly. Let's keep things safe here and clear out this area. This whole process is going to take you probably 2 at least in-game weeks. Okay, the other ones in the street don't seem too interested in us. Let's bring the van into the compound so we're not having to run all the way back in and out with this loot here. At this point in the guide, rather than coming here if you're not in Rosewood, feel free to just drive to Rosewood as well if you're not here. I'm not sure if there are other leather factories. You can certainly find leather in the back of tannery vans as well. There's a drying rack here. This is a large one, that's not the one we want. And then there's a small one there. Yeah, we want the medium. It is worth noting as part of this guide, don't be confused by the fact you are hunting for medium leather to make the large bellows. That is how it works. Get the sledgehammer out here to get in. So we also find the tanning barrel here as well. This is where we tan the leather once you've processed it. I mean, it saves me making one. I'll take it for sure. Again, really simple recipe. The tanning barrel is just 2 planks and 2 nails. Super easy to make, but you can find these handy little workstations out in the world, I suppose. There we go, that's what we want. So there's one acquired, one piece of medium leather crude, and hopefully we'll find some more as well. Yeah, 4 pieces there, that's the jackpot. Wonderful. Planks and steel sheets in here. I mean, we're going to need a lot of planks for some of the workstations, so I think I'm actually going to empty some of them out. But, yeah, otherwise, that's it. I'm going to take the planks, like I mentioned. A lot of the workstations require them, so it saves me having to go and chop the logs myself. There's also a butter churn here as well, which will be useful when we get pigs or cows, so I'm going to take that. And there's also some other workstations down here as well. All this stuff here, like the heckle comb, is related to growing your own flax, so you can start making your own fabric and twine, basically going down the tailoring skill tree. Oh, there's a softening beam here as well, which is quite handy. Yeah, it's remove flesh and then remove fur. You want to do both of these commands with the leather. If you don't remove the fur, you'll just end up making yourself a rug. There's a scutching board there as well. Again, this is related to fibers and flaxes and whatnot. Not what we're doing right now. Let's go ahead and get this leather home. Let's also check out these trailers as well while we're here. And just blanks, but I will take a propane torch there. You want to be collecting propane now. We will be using propane as part of this video. As we enter into the welding section of the video. So, if you see it, pick it up. I want to check this other trailer as well while I'm here. Nothing. Perfect. Okay, that's that. I also want to stop on another shop on the way home here. Specifically the pottery workshop in the middle of town. We were there last episode, so I'm going to head up there now as well. We'll take a different route through town as well and see what the rest of this north side of Rosewood is looking like in terms of population. We haven't been up here yet. Yeah, there's a few knocking about here, isn't there? We'll be back here with guns and fire one day to take the supermarket, but that's a jump for future Ron Swanson, unfortunately. Oh yeah, hello people. There you go, that's where that alarm went off last episode. Don't like that. There's a lot of them there. That's, again, a problem for another day, isn't it? Let's get back down here. So the pottery workshop is on this block here. And it's this small, thin, white building here is where we want to be. See if we can get in. No, we can't. Let's just disassemble the door. No one in here. So we can also find 2 more of the workstations in here as well. You can't pick the advanced kiln up, but you can come and use it, and we'll build our own of this though. But you can take a modern pottery wheel. You can also take one of the simple pottery ones as well, but they're a little heavier. So I will just make use of the modern pottery wheel. Again, I'll run over how to make these once we reach the Masonry Grind, because you'll need to make these giant stone wheels yourself. But another thing we're here for, specifically, is amounts of clay. Stacks of clay are perfect. And if you're not in Rosewood, clay is really easy to find. You can forage for it quite easily. But if you head to a body of water with a sack and a shovel, you will find darker patches of dirt there. And you can dig it up and fill it with clay. A few more sacks of clay. Take as much as you want. The more you take here, or the more you go out and find in the wild, the more you can grind your pottery skill. 12 will be more than enough. There's also a grindstone here too, which again is another workstation you're going to want for not only keeping the weapons you have now sharp, but the swords that you're going to make via the blacksmithing skill. Again, incredibly easy to make. Okay, and I'll do one more run inside. I might as well grab the last of the clay while I'm here. Shut that door as well so no one comes and surprises us. Yeah, there really is. There's like a vast amount of clay in this shop. More than you'll probably want, to be quite honest. But better to have it and not need it, etc. There's a zombie there just watching me put the loot away. It's actually quite helpful. Thank you. Thank you for waiting. What shop did they just break out of? What do we have in here? Car mechanics place. Sweet, there'll be some good loot in here for us. Speaking of, more propane, everyone. If you see it, take it. The lack of propane supply can really slow down your blacksmithing grind if you run out of materials to weld down, essentially. But with the morning's work there, we've got our clay, a couple of the workstations, and also the leather, most importantly, as well. So, let's get this stuff back home. I just heard a sheep. Where the hell are you? Oh, there's a deer. There's a deer in the school. Isn't that interesting? You could kill him. That would be a source of medium leather. Yeah, he ran away. Interesting. Those must be the deer we saw 3 or 4 episodes ago. So I'm going to grab my medium leather crude at the back here. So at this point, you would now build your workstations. You would build your medium leather drying rack. And this is what's going to produce this here for you, the medium leather crude, which I've looted in Rosewood. Again, it's a guaranteed spawn in Rosewood if you don't want to wait the 7-day drying time. Come and get your medium leather crude, okay? Just going to stick these spare pieces in there for now. And now to make the bellows themselves requires carpentry level 1. We're going to need 4 medium handles because we're making 2 pairs, 4 planks, and 4 nails. Which is perfect actually because we haven't spoke about the carving grind yet. So we want to make sure we have a knife on us. We do. If we walk over to one of the trees we've chopped down previously, should be plenty of them by now at this point in your run. We did one over here, didn't we? We come over and come into crafting, but we have read the skill buff. Yeah, we got 3 times multiplier. So we'll just carve everything here. Let's carve some spears from the saplings. And then carve stakes from tree branches. And with that XP buff, we'll very quickly get carving level 1 here. Do exactly the same thing where you've chopped down a tree before. Carve your long sticks. You can carve a spear from your long stick if you like. The regular basic wooden spears are crap. You really want to fire harden them. And then same thing again with the tree branches. Perfect. So now if we come and grab another tree site, we can get 4 small handles. There's a really great way to just endlessly grind carving by going down to handles. And then, I think, spoons and then forks. It's a really good way to get there. And then you can do things like dice, which are useless from the survival point, but they do give good XP. And knife has actually gone blunt now. We need to go find another one. Right, we've got a large knife in here. That'll do. We've also got the grindstone as well, so we can resharpen our knives here. Let's come back to our carving pile. And then we can do more small handles. And just keep finding these wooden materials. Won't take you long to get to carving too. With the XP buff especially. And there we go. And then for medium handles, we just want to carve a single plank, which we might be able to do here. I think we need a surface for it though, don't we? Yeah, we do. Let's take this plank then. And again, all these small handles that you've made, don't throw them away. They're quite useful for attaching all the blades you're about to make with the blacksmithing skill too. So keep hold of them. You will go through them. Let's drop off these wooden spears as well. There we go. Our wood saw broke too. That's fine. We've picked up plenty more by now. And there we go. Let's carve 6 medium handles. There we go. And then back into crafting. And that should open up our large bellows to make 2 of them. Which is one of the most difficult items for the blacksmithing forge required. You get a bit of carpentry XP for them as well. Don't need them on us right now. So just put them into a container. There we go. Sweet. I'm also going to create a carving box here as well. Any and all materials related to wood carving, I'm just going to keep over here. Alongside a knife to do said carving, okay? Sweet. So that is one of the most obnoxious bits of the grind done. We have our 2 large bellows. One for the furnace and one for the advanced forge. That took us about a day. Again, if you're going down the route of having to kill the animal, You have to wait 7 days for the leather to dry, but don't worry, it's going to take longer than 7 days anyway. So that time's going to pass, it doesn't really matter to be honest. But in Rosewood, there is crude leather spawns. It's quite easy to get there, not a too busy part of town. And we are very tired and a bit hungry. I actually left my electrical book. Oh, I fell over and dropped my hat. Oops, I didn't tear my pants then, did I? No, I didn't. We're good. All my shoes. No, we're fine. Yeah, let's grab electrical level 2. We'll carry on reading this, and then tomorrow we will start on the Masonry Grind, so we can begin collecting the rest of the materials needed. But as always, get yourself a little bit of bedtime reading in before sleep. Okay everyone, we wake up on day 18 with our power having finally turned off. This is something we want to immediately turn on. There's our generator. I have info, 100% condition, 100% fuel. Keep an eye on this. If you find your generators burning fuel too quickly, it's something you can turn lessen in your sandbox settings. So with our bellows and clay both acquired, now comes the masonry grind part of the video. That's going to take some jerky with me. Reorganize my containers here a little bit. Sweet. So now we need a lot of stone blocks, which we can't make until masonry level 1. So what we need to do first, to even begin grinding masonry, is to come over to these kind of M-shaped rocks. You see them here on the floor. You right-click them, you can remove large stone. Now your inventory capacity needs to be under 10 to pick these up, because they weigh 40. They're very heavy, and they're much easier to collect with a van. Once you have them, bring them back to your surface in the room that you're going to be doing all the work in here. So our generator doesn't reach this room. Okay, that's quite interesting. I'll have to move the generator. It's no problem. Drop the large stones on the floor here. And you want to find about 12 of them. There's another thing actually I need to talk to you about with the generator. Since we've turned it on now, we want to make sure I don't need these outdoor lights on. That's costing me gasoline to run. Same thing with any interior lights that don't really need to be on all the time, right? We can turn these off because it's costing us gas to run. Turn the kitchen light off as well. You also want to make sure the same thing isn't happening in surrounding houses either, so you know that the light in that house isn't on because you're paying for that in gasoline essentially. So I'm going to use my truck to bring multiple back. Let's unload this stuff first. The grindstone you're going to want near your advanced forge, so place it where you eventually want it. The butter churn can be near the cows, and our pottery wheel. I tend to put the pottery stuff out of the way because I only really use it once for this specific grind. So just stick it there for now. More propane for our collection, of course. Getting your highest capacity vehicle. Again, you can't just keep walking these back, but like the logs, you might as well bring 6 or 7 back at a time in the car than 1 at a time in your person. So there you go. There's another one. So this is what you want to do now. Until again, you've got about 12. The more you have, the better, because you can use the stone blocks to build in really nice fire pits, stone walls if you want to move away from wood. So more is better. Again, you can just train your masonry skill more. Now you just want to keep driving around until you keep finding them in there. They're super common. I can already see 2 more here. But easily the best way to get large stones. And how much we'll be able to hold in this van actually. Yeah, we get a few more in. Leave your van running. Some great tips from you guys as well. Every time you turn your car engine off, you lose about 3% battery health. So if you're planning to get in it again pretty quickly, it's actually worth leaving it running. That's a really good tip from you guys in the comments. Thank you for that one. We've got room for 1 more stone. You can also collect regular stones, but by breaking a large stone, you will also get 10 blocks from it. We've got zombies here. Let's get this off our person very quickly. And then even though I can't get this one in the trunk, I can still essentially carry it in my lap on the way back. Again, be careful of how much muscle strain you're giving yourself with all these massively strenuous activities. If you get caught short with a big group of zombies coming at you, you can lose your run quite easily here. But let's bring the truck into the garage. And then just drop all your large stones by this table. Again, because you want the surface to chisel them down, okay? That gives us, what there, 6 stones? Okay. So, same again. Just go find another 6. You can see how easy they are to find. And then we'll come back and start grinding masonry here. And here we are with the next load. There's a zombie over there. We'll go deal with him. Sweet, so I think I've got 11 large stones there. That should be enough. Let's get the van out of here. So this is where you really want to have found, hopefully, a mason's chisel by now. I have had runs where I've been extraordinarily unlucky with mason's chisels. So this is a good opportunity to show this off, actually. If you have a spear weapon, let's grab one of those wooden spears we just made. And you have a wire fence like this. You can actually attack through it. There we go. Nice handy little tip with the spear type weapon there. Sweet. So that's all done. Let's now grab our next set of tools, which is going to be a mason's chisel and a club hammer. Bring these over to your materials. I would really advise having at least masonry level 1 red here. Then at your crafting table, start breaking stones into large stones. Do the maximum amount of them. Fast forward time. This will make a pretty obnoxious noise. There's masonry level 1. We'll have a lot of stones on us now. And then with these stones, we then want to turn them into stone blocks. Do all of them. We can do 73 here. I think it's 70 we need, isn't it? Let me just double check. Yeah, 30 for the forge and 40 for the furnace. Yeah, so that's perfect there. Do max. Once you hit masonry volume level 2, which you'll do pretty quickly from doing this, you can go and read masonry volume 2 to get the extra speed buff if you want. Come and drop all these stone blocks where you're going to want your workstations. I'm going to put them in this corner here. And then I tend to leave my mason's chisel and club hammer over here for future masonry work. And then we've got some leftover stones here. Again, if you didn't pick up a grindstone, this is where you would now need to do your stone wheels. Make a stone wheel here and a small stone wheel. The small stone wheel is used for the pottery wheel. But a regular stone wheel will allow you to build your grindstone, which again is a build station. Super simple. 1 stone wheel, 4 planks, 4 nails. Very easy to make. I did find one in Rosewood, so I don't need to go down that step. Grindstones are fairly common, to be fair. They're not exactly rare. I can hit some more Zeds. Sweet. So that now gives us the literal building blocks of our first station, which is going to be the advanced furnace. We have the bellows, we have the stone blocks, we have the trowel. The last thing we need now is a bucket of clay cement. We can also use concrete if you found it, but I don't think I've found any yet. It is pretty common. I've probably come across it, just not picked it up, but clay cement will also work as well. So this is really easy to make. We get clay cement, we need a sack of sand, 2 pieces of clay, and some water in a bucket. Very easily done. Let's take clay from one of these sacks that we got from the shop in Rosewood. We'll take a sack. And we also want a shovel as well, which I think I left over by my gardening area, didn't I? Yeah, I have a shovel over here. So sand is really common. I think we've actually got some in the base here, haven't we? I didn't pick up a sack of sand, did I? Let me just check my supplies. Yes, I did. Perfect. Okay, I actually don't even need that, you idiot. But yeah, sand is really easy to find. It's all the sort of white sandy texture you can pick out. And there you go. That's sand right there. Kind of the white cream texture. Go there with a sack and a shovel. And there you go. Take some sand. Option right there. But now we have our sack of sand. We just need a bucket. I've got one over here in my chicken coop, thankfully. I lost my fishing hat. Make sure I get that back. Let's not forget my fisherman hat. And then with our empty bucket, we'll bring this into the bathroom. Fill it from the sink. We should have 10 litres in there. And then with our crafting, we can mix a bucket of clay cement, which will use all those materials. And now we have a bucket of cement. So by the end of our second day of the grind, we will have our advanced furnace set up, which then lets us begin building the blacksmith's anvil. Let's grab a mason's trowel. There we go. And then, of course, let's not forget the bellows. We just want one pair. And then we want to come over here, come to our build menu, and the advanced furnace is now available to be built. I think I want it a step over, so I'm just going to move my little plastic table here. Yeah, I'll move my work surface out of the way. And then we can build our advanced furnace. You want to be very careful with where you're placing this stuff, because once it's down, you can't pick it up. You need to rebuild it and then knock it down with a sledgehammer. So really important you place it where you want. I'm going to put it here, I think. I'm pretty happy with that. There you go, okay. So that is our advanced furnace done. This is where we cast the blacksmith anvil, for which on the next day, because we're starting to get a bit tired and overloaded now, we'll start putting the materials together to start making the anvil. I'm also going to leave the mason's trowel as well with the chisel, because we'll want that again for building the forge. But there we go. Right, station 1 acquired. The forge is next, which probably takes the longest of this entire step process. But let's call it a day here. Let's get in, read the rest of our electrical volume 2, have some dinner, and then we'll start work on that in the morning. Okay, everyone. So we wake up the next day, and now the grind begins for the blacksmith anvil, which is going to start by building a few stations here. I'm going to take my flashlight out while it's a bit dark if we don't have power in the garage. Which I don't need power over here, but it would be nice to have the lights on. First thing we want is plenty of clay. So just take it from the sack here. We need a bit of it, take 4 stacks should be fine. And then we want the mason's trowel. Sweet. So I mentioned I build my pottery stuff away from the main area because I only really use it this once, really. So I'm going to have the advanced kiln is what I want. Yeah, let me just remove that grass first. Again, I'm very rarely using this, so I don't want it taking up premium real estate. Okay, we'll have that there. Super. And then we'll need our pottery wheel, which we need to reach pottery level 1 first to make the large crucibles. Now, do I have the pottery buff? No, I don't. So I'm going to drop the clay here because I'm really going to want that, alright? I'm pretty sure I do have pottery 1 already. Oh, no, I don't. It's the one I'm missing, of course. Okay, no, we're not then. Don't worry about it. We should have enough clay to get there anyway. There we go. We'll also want water for this as well, but we can use our water bottle. Then come over to the pottery wheel. Again, make your own if you didn't pick the one up in the shop. Really easy stations to make. And then just make a bunch of unfired bowls. Although we do need a larger source of water for this. I happen to have a 10-litre bucket here, so I'm just going to use that. Again, just go grab a bucket and top it up is the best way. And the pottery wheel. Continue to max craft bowls. There we go. And then we need our sack of sand back. I'm just going to drop the unfired bowls here. I'll eventually reorganize. For right now, I'm just prioritizing. So we need more sand to fire the crucibles. There we go. We want 2 of these. But also we might need to go get more sand, do we? Yes, I do. I do need a bit more sand. That's okay. Very easily done. Just take your large clay crucible and leave it by the kiln. We're going to fire them in a second. And see if we can just jump this fence here. Power of Ron Swanson will get us over. And then take some sand. You will dig it up. Exactly the same process you'd use for collecting your own clay as well. Let's actually fill this sandbag. That gives us 2 sacks of sand again. And then finally, back to the wheel to make the last crucible. Sweet. So let's drop all the stuff here we don't need. Stick the crucible on the floor. I'll move the shovel and I'll replace this bucket so it can start collecting more water. And then we want to come and drop that second crucible down there, ready to be fired. So now at this point, the need for charcoal enters the process. So you can build a charcoal burning pile just using a regular shovel, but it's 2 by 2 tiles wide and it looks really ugly, but it's really easy to make. However, what I prefer to do is to use a charcoal burning barrel. So I'm going to go and get a yellow barrel. I'm pretty sure we had one spawn in a house on the opposite side of the school. I'm just going to go pick that up. Again, the barrels are really common. You won't really struggle to find them. You've probably come across them by now already. There we go. Got an orange barrel here. So let's get this back home. We are now starting to suffer quite bad muscle strain. So getting into bigger fights at this stage is something we want to avoid ideally. Once you have your barrel, just stick that somewhere. It is going to move again. And then we just need 4 regular stones. And should I chisel all these down? No, perfect. Take 4 of those. And then pick your barrel up again. There it goes. And then come into your build menu. And you can now build a charcoal burning barrel. Okay. I'm going to put this next to my furnace and in between the forge, because both the furnace and the forge are going to eat up charcoal. Okay. We'll have that there. And then when you click on this now, you can burn charcoal down from a few different materials, mostly wooden stuff. So all this stuff here. And the best one to do is to burn wood into charcoal. And just because logs are, I think, easiest to get, and it only requires 2. Whereas here you need 9 tree branches or 12 broken branches, 18 various broken bits of weaponry. So logs are the easiest thing to do. So now we need logs again, right? And quite a bit of them. So exactly the same process you've used for all your other stuff. I'm just going to put the softening beam over here for right now. And also the tanning barrel. I'm probably not going to make use out of these since I found my own leather, but it's nice to have them. We will eventually make some leather stuff, I suppose. We'll use the animal materials to grind the tailoring skill at some point. So exactly the same process now you've been doing since week 1 of gathering logs. You guys actually dropped some more really sick advice that the log piles in the yard where we went a few episodes ago can actually be dismantled for further logs. So I'm going to head back there for mine. Otherwise, get an axe and chop down local trees, whatever your favoured source of finding logs is at this point. And don't forget, you can just forage for them on the ground as well. That's a log right there. See that sprite? You can pick that up. So if we come up to these containers and disassemble. Oh yeah, you get so many logs. That's such a good source of logs. My goodness, everyone. That is incredible. Really good tips. It looks like we can dismantle, actually, both sections. No, yeah, that's wild. That is easily the best source of logs in the game, isn't it? Just going to back the van up so I can load them straight into the boot rather than having to get in and out every time. And drag all those into the boot. It looks like we can afford to dismantle one more here. So that's a boot full. That is going to be an endless source of pre-chopped logs for me. Great tips, guys. That makes the log yards in the game. Yeah, there's another big one in Muldra as well, and significantly more valuable without having to spend the exertion it costs to get that many logs. Elite tips, everyone. So again, back your van up right next to the charcoal pit. And we can get out. Can't get around the side there, so I'll go around the other way. And then just pull them all onto the floor. We will have a mass cleanup at the end of this, but right now just having all the materials to hand is very helpful. And then max burn your charcoal at the barrel. A lot of this will go on the floor, because again charcoal tends to weigh quite a bit. You got 73 on the floor and 47 in the inventory. So now we can come back over to the advanced kiln that we made, which will allow us to fire the crucibles. You can also fire the bowls you made here as well. You want to make your own. So do 2 of them. They're actually overloaded. Let's drop some charcoal on the floor here. I'll come back for that. There we go. Sweet. That everyone is wonderful. Let's grab that charcoal again. So this is how you'll grind pottery going forward if you want to. But you can see from what you can make, it doesn't really feel like it's that fleshed out yet. Literally the most usable thing is the crucibles. But yeah, the other stuff, you can make your own pots and pottery. The amphora is also quite a big liquid storage unit you can use. I might actually make one of them. Let's find some clay. Do we have some here? It's 10 we need. Let's take the clay from that. And then we can build. This isn't part of the grind, but the amphora is good for storing large quantity of liquid. So let's say I wanted to put this here. Don't know why he went that way around, but that's okay. Yeah, this is just a big liquid container. I think this stores up to 20 litres, I think. So leave it open and it'll collect rain for you. You can't, however, turn it into a rain collector, but the rain collector barrels hold more anyway. So we now have our large crucibles on the floor. The next thing we need to make is our clay mold and press. So we'll do that next. Let's bring this out of the garage. So we should be able to build it here, actually. So the next thing we want is a press. Just 4 planks and 4 nails. Again, this is pottery associated. So I'm going to stick it out the back next to the kiln. There we go. And then the next thing we want to make, we're going to need some more planks for, which I don't think I have enough here. The next thing we want to make is the Anvil wooden mold. Yeah, we want 4 planks for that, so I'll just go and get them. How many do we have here? 1, so we just need 3. There we go. We have 3 planks over in the garden. Perfect. Those planks you leave lying around will literally always come in useful. So make yourself your blacksmith anvil mold. This thing's pretty big. Get a bit of carpentry XP for that. And now we have the wooden mold. And now we want a bit more clay, which hopefully we'll have enough of on the floor here. We need a little bit more. I've only got 6 there. So this is where the clay does come into it here. Again, if you didn't hit the rosewood clay store, either forage for it or go to a body of water. It's a really common material. You shouldn't struggle for it. You want to press the anvil mold. This will turn it into an unfired ceramic mold, which gives us here. Come back to your furnace and then fire it into the anvil mold. Wonderful. Once that's done, I'm just going to stick my clay down there by the wheel. We don't need the wooden blacksmith anvil mold anymore, unless you're planning to make multiple forges, then you're going to need it. So I'll pop it in there. But now we can cast the ceramic blacksmith anvil mold at the furnace. It's a recipe here. But now we need the large crucibles with iron. So the next and possibly last stage of our grind is to start filling the crucibles with iron, which is where welding comes into it. So I'm just going to put the mold by the furnace. I don't need to be carrying it around with me all the time. So let's prepare for this grind. You want to take your biggest capacity vehicle, usually the box vans, and take all of your propane, as much as you've hopefully gathered by now. There is also a mod on the Steam Workshop where you can refill these propane tanks from gas stations, as if, like it is in real life, you can usually get propane from a gas station. Quite a handy mod. If you're playing without it, you're going to be constantly foraging for propane. So it's up to you if you want to bring that into your mod set. We then want to grab our welder's masks. You only need 1 of them, but take more in case you lose them. And then all of our welding torches. I have 6 torches and 2 masks. Put them in the boot of your car with the propane. So tomorrow we're going to be driving out of Rosewood for the first time, down towards Mordra. But I'll talk in the morning after a good night's sleep. You see how we're already tired now by 10 to 3. So let's go ahead and get ourselves a drink and just have a little bit of TLC for the rest of the day. Ron Swanson is absolutely knackered from building forges, as you would imagine. So yeah, I'm just going to carry on. Spend the rest of this day just reading, basically. So in preparation for this grind, as with any skill, I would also advise that you have the skill book prepared for it. Do I have welding 1? Yes, I do. I'm going to want this red before we go out. Okay, everyone. So we woke up slightly panicked, but nothing out of the ordinary. So today is going to be easily the most dangerous and probably longest bit of the grind. You're going to want to make sure that you bring some extra water with you and a decent amount of food as well, because we're going to be out of town all day. I am reluctant to go without the skill boost, so I'm going to spend the early morning just reading the rest of this. And you don't have to do that. Hopefully you're getting the point of these magazines and books and stuff now. Let's eat a little bit more of our stir fry. And then I'm also going to take... Yeah, that didn't even fill us up, did it? Let's make sure we eat all of that. And then I'll just take some non-perishables, a couple of cans of oats, and a bag of crisps. And also a spare water bottle I've got here on the side too. Yeah, so this is easily going to be the most dangerous bit of the grind. Do not leave unless you have propane torches and welder's masks, otherwise you can't grind here. In fact, just because I'm superstitious. I definitely have them, yes. It's good news. So we're going to drive down towards Mordred today. So across Knox County, there are several junctions that are crammed with car wrecks, which are by far the best source of iron to smelt down to make your anvil. Editing Egg, I imagine, will be marking where these car wreck locations appear on the map. They are always guaranteed spawns, so you will find them as I do. But it's a bit of a drive, so you want to be careful. You also want to make sure you've got enough gas. Half a tank will be more than enough, but I've got more than that here, so we'll be fine. Yeah, follow me out of Rosewood if you want, but we're basically driving down to Mordred today. To the main junction down there on the Arterial Road, to reference some of our Cities Skylines knowledge. Now, just a note here, because we haven't really driven this far before. When you're going really quick, all of a sudden, oh look at that, herd of rabbits, isn't that nice? That's so sweet. Yes, well, prime example, all of a sudden something can appear. It can be a crowd of zombies, a car wreck, a group of deer, and you'll be going too quick to pay any attention to it, and you'll smash into them. Don't look away from your monitor, super easy way to crash. I've lost so many characters to accidentally hitting light poles at 80 miles an hour. So be careful on these very straight roads. It might seem safe, but it's quite easy to lose your run here. So we're coming up to Mordred now. Once you pass that next junction, you know the main junction down isn't too far away. But these can sometimes be quite busy and sometimes be completely dead. All depends on the look of your map scene, really. More deer there as well, fantastic. So this is what we want, right? Lots and lots of scrap vehicles for us to chew down. Now you also notice that there's some functioning vehicles here as well, and we will be making use of them. Exactly like we did loading up our logs a few episodes ago, we also want to load up more metal in another van. Now we've got an electrician's van here, which is unfortunately locked. How about the box van? Also locked, but this looks in really bad condition though. This one down here? Yeah, it's locked, but it looks in pretty bad condition. Okay, well I'm going to go with the electrical van because it's a themed one. We'll just have to smash a window, which I'd rather avoid, but we can't do here. All this stuff in the back. A remote control medium range isn't bad, I'll take that. Everything else can go on the floor there. And then with our van, we now want to attach it to the back as if we're going to tow it. And now we have 2 vans we can load up. What was the capacity on this actually? 153, that's actually really good. So now let's wear a mask. We want to come into our craft menu and refill all the propane torches. They'll do that from the materials in the boot of the car. Grab all the torches, And now spend your time right-clicking and dismantling car wrecks. Do this all day until you start to lose light, and then start loading all this stuff up into the back of the car. Now you will be getting many different types of materials from this. For the anvil, we need specifically iron, but it's worth taking everything else as well because you'll use the steel for your blacksmithing grind. That's level 1 welding. So now we're out of propane because we've used up all 6 torches. It takes a full torch to do a car wreck. Come back to the back of your van, refill propane torches, and then let him refill all 6. Super stuff. Make sure we don't have a steel tank on us. And then carry on. So now I'm going to start picking everything up. Just going to stand over each pile and hit take all. All the materials from this are useful, so you will end up using them. And then back at the back of your van, start unloading all this material stuff that you just picked up. That is 1 trunk filled up. And just keep repeating this process. Refill your propane torches and carry on dismantling the car wrecks. There's welding level 2. We now want to read volume 2 before we come back to carrying any more welding grinds. Okay, so that about be enough. Let's take our welder's mask off because it makes us uncomfortable. And then I'd also like to put the mask and the torches on the driver's seat, just so they're not weighing us down. Sweet, so just to confirm here, we've got several cars worth of dismantled loot here, right? Let's not forget to attach the trucks. There we go. And now it's a case of driving all this back home. By towing the extra vehicle, you can get a significant amount more per run. This should be enough for us. Second trips might be needed, probably not third. But it's really iron we're trying to find here, but the steel is worth taking as well. So once you've done this, that took most of the day. We're driving home at 10 to 7. You now want to bring all of the iron, and I guess steel as well, I suppose. But we'll focus on the iron for right now. Back to the furnace that was made yesterday. So I'll see you there. It just crashed into rabbits. Oops. I'm so sorry. My god. How sad, everyone. I'm gonna pick them up. It's free food. It's fine. Sorry. I really didn't. I felt terribly sorry then. I can only pick one up at a time. Okay, there is a mod, by the way, you can get for putting animals in car containers and car seats. But I could only pick up one right now. So sorry, rabbits. Oh man, is that all that's left of them? Just the 2 children? Oh my god. No, that's the saddest thing that's happened in Knox Country this playthrough. So welcome back to Sweet Home Kentucky, everyone. Let's get in here. So I'm just gonna take the iron stuff out. Now the forge also wants a carved wooden bucket for some reason, which wants specifically 2 of the small iron bands. So I'm going to take these out first, because you can accidentally smelt them and then leave yourself without the iron bands that you need for the bucket. I'm just going to put them in here on their own, so I know they can't be smelted, okay? We also want the tongs for this as well now, which you hopefully have come across. I have a pair here. Again, I'll leave these on the floor by the furnace, because they're going to be used a lot. And now let's take everything iron, essentially. So all these iron pieces, iron scraps, iron pipes. Okay, and then come over to your furnace. Just stick all this on the floor. We will eventually organise containers for this once we're done. But for right now, everything weighs so much, it's easier just to stick it on the floor and burn it from that source, essentially. And then the same thing again with the other one. This should be more than enough iron. There's an absolute ton of it here. Always better to have more than you need for extra smelting, right? Right, there's a zombie in the base there. Also got to bear in mind our generator is making noise as well now. So that's going to be an extra distraction for them. Okay, so he was just hanging out near the generator. He's like, oh, what's this? This seems nice. You guys are asking as well why I'm not closing my main gates. Because they will destroy them, and I'd rather not lose the wire ones. But I suppose now the generator's on, it probably is worth closing them. Let's just get some more water here. We'll try start this grind before bedtime so we can just do the anvil in the morning. Top up our water. Let's head back outside. And did we get all the iron from this? No, a bit more to get. Back to the furnace with the fired crucibles. And we can now start smelting large iron items. Just hit max. And your guy will start to build the furnaces. This will take a while. It also helps actually if we take the ceramic anvil mold and drop this on the floor as well. So when the recipe becomes active to make, when we have enough ceramic crucible iron, this will pop as being able to be made. But let's just keep smelting down iron items. Okay, so that's night time. I'm not going to stand here in the dark doing this. I will see you in the morning. Good morning again, everyone. Let's have a quick check near the generator. Make sure no one's come to the gates overnight. No, I'm not quite happy. And then let's carry on with melting down that iron over here. Let's also bring the extra charcoal that's sat over here to the furnace as well. Just so we have enough. And then carry on. There we go. We now have enough to cast the blacksmith anvil. This weighs so much that you essentially need to be naked to actually make it, okay? And I'm not joking by that. Put those spare engine parts away. So literally everything, drop it on the floor. All your containers, all your clothes, everything. Because this thing weighs a ton. There we go. You can craft it. You'll pick everything up. And then, boom. That gives us the blacksmith anvil on the floor, okay? So we will pick that up. And then come and drop it over here by the bricks. And then obviously, don't forget to get redressed here. Okay, so now we have our anvil over there. That's perfect. The last thing we need to make is the wooden bucket, which is going to cost us 4 planks. I'm going to need to go chop a tree down for that. A small handle, which again are going to come in useful at several occasions, but I need to go grab a tree first. We've got one in the cow pen we can take down actually. Let's just grab this. We also need a log as well. So I'm going to take that over to the location of the blacksmith forge. We'll also want some wire, which we have plenty of now. That's everything we need collected. Let's come over to craft it. We'll search for bucket. Let's craft that up. Okay. That gives us the empty large bucket, which the forge specifically wants this one. A regular bucket that's made of metal won't suffice for this. And then again, drop that over there. Now we just need our mason's trowel. And our bucket of cement, which I think is over here, isn't it? Right, where did I put the bucket of cement? And then of course, the last thing we need, turn our light on here as well so it's not super dark, is our large bellows. And finally everyone, after a couple days of grinding, you can build yourself the advanced forge, which will sit nicely there for me. Spectacular. There we go everyone. That is how you do it. You got now advanced furnace to get all your items from here essentially. Your charcoal barrel is right there. Now your blacksmith's furnace, you can start to make lots of cool things. Specifically, I like going down the blades You can attach these to spears to make much better, stronger spears. And then as the various blacksmithing levels go up, you can start to create sword blades, short swords, machetes, long spearheads. Really cool skill. Coming into your armor. This stuff is mega encumbersome and super uncomfortable to wear. It's very situational, so I wouldn't rely on it being your everyday wear. But it is very cool. It also brings the tailoring skill into blacksmithing as well. And likewise with weaponry, making spiked bats, jawbone morning stars if you get jawbones from cows. Really cool skill. Easily one of the best bits of build 42 is the blacksmithing stuff. It's not too hard to do, it's just it can be a bit confusing to kind of lurch from one task to another, but hopefully this video at least has shown you how you can get it set up. For the rest of this episode now, I'm just going to do some tidying up, get some new crates. Which do we have? Empty crates here. Yeah, I might just take these. Let me move those down there. And I'm going to take these crates here. I would advise having crates nearby, so that way you don't have to have this vast amount of charcoal and steel material. You know, sort of just sat out here on the floor, basically. So in terms of where I put my crates, I tend to put them, because you're going to be standing here when you're blacksmithing, so I'll put them here, I think. But I'm likely going to have quite a bit more than that. Sweet. So all the wood charcoal I'm going to pick up as well. The forge will absolutely chew through this stuff, so I just prefer to leave a ton of it on the floor there. Okay. It will also want the tongs as well. They're going to be a pretty key material. It's at this point you can also bring over the small file set, a small hacksaw, and any metalworking chisels and punches that you found so far. Also metal sheet snips are used at the forge as well. Again, I prefer to just stick all these on the floor. Now with all the other stuff you got from the car, let's take all the steel bars and rods, etc. Come and drag all this stuff over. And then you can stick this in one of your crates, because these are going to be in quite large supply. Stick them in there. And then when you stand at your blacksmith now, and then we can cut steel bars into steel bar quarters here, which we'll do a bit of. And then finally, going into our blade, we can now start forging simple blades, okay? Which will be your first point of grind, essentially. Don't forget, once you've finished working here, don't forget to drop the tools and materials back off, otherwise you'll end up losing your tongs, which locks you off from the blacksmithing skill. You need them for every single recipe, as you would imagine, because you're dealing with molten metal. But with that set up, again, I'm going to read blacksmith level 1 before we do anything else further here. But I hope that's helpful. Hang around for the rest of the video if you want. I'm just going to organise this interior storage. But that is how you start blacksmithing in build 42, from having nothing to getting both of the workstations set up. So the last day of today's episode, we're just going to spend bringing all these materials, specifically all the blocks, bars and quarters, and we'll melt down a lot of the other stuff, really. Things like scrap metal, iron scrap will be smelted in the crucibles like we did at the start of this process. And we've also got a foggy day as well, so perfect base organisation. And with the steel sheets, I tend to keep these near the car mechanic spots because I'm going to use a lot of them for repairing my various vehicles over time. Alright everyone, so I basically just spent the next day after this arranging all the stuff that was on the floor, then also bringing some more crates into it as well. So next to my furnace I have a stack of 3 crates. This is holding everything's scrap, basically. This can continue to be melted down into your crucibles, to be turned into solid metal that can then be processed at your forge. So still worth collecting all this stuff. Things like sheet metal scrap, we can actually research craft on quite a few of these things. This will unlock some recipes for us. So that's going to give us the sheet metal weapon. But we can use that at the forge, but I tend to melt it down. The charcoal barrel is here and will continue to receive large log duct deliveries to fuel both of these buildings. And then in here we have some screws and bolts. These can be used in crafting recipes. You'll see them here for making metal reinforced weapons, so I'll keep them over here. Likewise with iron and steel, all the blocks, quarters, pieces are all over here. Rods and bars, etc. as well. All this stuff. Keep it near your forge. And with our blacksmithing ×3 buff, we'll actually fly through this pretty quickly. The masonry stuff is just here for future masonry work with this cement. And then the small handles are here near the grindstone. I guess I'll just show the process now, basically, right? So we'll come into our blade. Just hit max, we can make 32 of them. We don't need 32, but stop when we get to level 1. There we go, there's level 1. That's going to give us a bunch of blunt blades, which you'd then take over. Close this gate. To the grindstone. Hit craft, you can fast forward 3 times here. Just hit craft, you'll get little bits of maintenance XP for that. And then with these simple metal blades, we can research another craft. It's going to give us the ability to forge a small knife. And then I tend to put these onto binding to a spear using a long stick and duct tape. You can also do it with wire and pliers as well. But we don't actually have the recipe for that. But yeah, that's where I tend to use them. But I'm just going to put them in there for right now. And now we're blacksmithing level 1. Back at the forge, we can come back to blades. We can also, what else can we make here now? Let's have a look. We can make iron bands, large hooks, small knives, which is going to be our next one. Now we also need the recipe for a lot of these, you'll see as well. We haven't found too many recipe books yet. But either way, same thing again. Hit max and make all of these. There's level 2. And then that gives us 4 blunt knives. Let's drop the tongs again. And then again, it's not worth doing any more crafting now, because we're not getting that XP buff. Go re-blacksmith in level 2. Sharpen all these knives. At your grindstone. The grindstone never deteriorates. It's a forever station. And then again with these small knives. We can actually grind some more carving here. What level? Yeah, we don't have the book, but I can show you that carving thing we made earlier. So if we come into our menu here, we can carve spoons. We can currently do 32 because we have 32 small handles. We'll just do a selection. Again, with the XP buff, this gives you a load of XP. Once you have the wooden spoons, research them, and this will unlock the fork recipe for you. There you go. There's a wooden fork and bone fork as well. And then carve the wooden forks from the wooden spoons. Okay? So you get to carve the same item 3 times over, essentially. Yeah, and that's essentially it. Very, very simple. And I've also just spent some time as well sorting out the base around here, moving the cars back into positions, and generally having a little bit of a tidy up. But otherwise, guys, that will do it for how to set up the advanced furnace and forge video. I hope you found it helpful. It is quite the process, and you could deviate in some places by finding resources in other methods. I definitely recommend traveling to Rosewood, to that leather workshop, because you save yourself 7 whole days by not having to dry your own leather. But drying your own leather is usually the way I go about it. I just happen to be in Rosewood. If you have any questions about it or have missed something you were looking for me to cover, please do let me know. And off camera here, between now and the next episode, I'm probably just going to spend a day or so reading Blacksmithing level 2 and continuing to move up so we can start making our own things like large knives, hunting knives, and hopefully a short sword, which is ultimately kind of the first cool weapon we can make. But thank you so much for watching. A huge shout out to the YouTube members and patrons bankrolling these videos. If you're interested in that, links are below. But I'll see you next time, and as always, enjoy the rest of your day.